Okay, I'm reloaded. That's basically the point of this video. Man, I'm back. I am reloaded. And you know what? I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna take, you know, as much bull crap as maybe I did before from non-human entities. You know, basically anyone can get got, really. And so, you know, I didn't really know quite what I would do this video on, but I think I have an idea. I may as well I may as well do my video on my hiatus, and basically how someone who is very, very good at, you know, sniffing out non-humans was got. Okay? And, so my last couple videos was probably, sometime in September. You know, you had the whole, you know, false rapture thing, and that whole rapture thing was supposed to happen the 23rd or whatever, and I was really buying into that because like 34 days or whatever before the 23rd, sometime in August, I had some entity come up to me in a parking lot and basically pitch me a story about how blah 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 the rapture was going to happen the 23rd you know of September or something like that, and he pitched me this long story about you know, the you know, Christ's 1,000-year kingdom and, you know, the rapture and all that, and a lot of it sounded good. Honestly, a lot of it sounded good. I might make a separate video just detailing everything the guy told me. But anyway, the guy, I was in a parking lot. It was late at night, and, you know, I don't know if it was out of the corner of my eye or if it was my sixth sense or whatever, but, you know, I kind of turned and I saw this guy staring at me from the other side of the parking lot of the motel that I was staying at the time. And, you know, I mean, I wasn't scared because, you know, I walk with Christ, and it's not like, you know, I'm just gonna get mugged or killed on the street, because that only happens to clones. Well, anyway, you know, I see this guy, he's like staring at me, and I'm like, you know, what does he want? And he comes up to me, and again, you know, I'm just waiting for him to come up, because I'm not really scared that he'll do anything, right? So anyway, this guy, let me turn on the light here. This guy, oh snap, it's blinking. There we go. This guy, he comes up to me, and the dude looks like Dave Chappelle, and, you know, I'm a pretty good spotter of non-humans, so I already knew this guy was a freaking clone. But, you know, these clones, you know, they can be intelligent spirits sometimes. So, you know, I'm listening to what he has to say. Maybe he has to say, you know, something of significance or whatever. And he's talking to me about, like, the eclipse, and because this was one day before the eclipse. He's talking to me about that, and he's talking to me about the September 23rd, and he's going on and on about how all these different prophecies line up with Revelation, like chapter 12 or whatever. And, you know, he's telling me there's gonna be a rapture and this and that, and it's sounding all nice and all that kind of crap. And you know, I knew he was a clone. Like, I knew he wasn't human. But basically, the way that I got was, they can't get me really. Well, I'm not going to be that arrogant. It's tough for me to get got with someone who's pretending to be human, but they're not actually human. Like, I know they're not, like, human. So it's really tough for them to get me like that. But basically, if they try to do this whole, you know, good guy, fallen angel, or like a holy angel sent to talk to me shit, that's how they're gonna get me, right? That's how they're gonna get me, and that's how they got me. So, you know, I'm thinking this guy was either like a holy angel, or I'm thinking he was like a fallen angel who was like assigned to tell me a holy message or something, because I know he wasn't human. So, you know, for a long time, for that whole month of September, like, you know, like, I'm fasting for like 5 days or whatever, the first month, like the first part of the month, and then I fast a little bit before September 23rd, you know, thinking I need to fast a lot and pray a lot, because there's going to be a rapture soon, and really I should just fast and pray for its own good, right? But, you know, I'm kind of thinking that, and I'm kind of like, you know, making, you know, I'm not living like a heathen, but I'm kind of like, you know, going, man, I hadn't ate this in a while. I should really eat this, because I might not ever get a chance to eat this again. Or, man, I sure would like some chicken, because I hadn't ate chicken in a long time. I sure would like chicken before a rapture or whatever. You know, maybe drinking just a little bit, but not too much. And I'm certainly not, you know, going out having sex or anything too crazy. But, you know, I'm just kind of like, gee, I ought to eat this or drink this, because I might not ever get a chance to do it ever again, right? And so I even will take a little trip and I baptize myself, which actually may have been a pretty good thing. But you know, I baptized myself in this state park, and the water that it had was not clear at all. It was very dark. It was very murky water. You know, it wasn't really the best water. I'm probably gonna rebaptize myself just because the water, you know, seems so dirty. But maybe that was an omen for me, that I'm making much ado about nothing. But anyway, you know, obviously the rapture came and went. No one got raptured up. And, you know, from like a week before the rapture or whatever, or 2 weeks before the rapture, whenever I last made a video, to like, you know, today or yesterday, I haven't really made videos, you know. Maybe it was just kind of that post-rapture burnout from it not happening or whatever. But, you know, I really ought to know better. You know, I've been through quite a lot of false prophecies before. I mean, I'm 26. So how many times have people came by saying, on this date, blah, blah, blah? Like, I mean, how many times am I going to fall for it over and over again? Hopefully not too many more times than this. But anyway, you know, I fell for it. And, you know, I fell from making videos for quite a while. But, you know what? I'm back now. I'm gonna try to at least put out a string of videos, if not every week, at least like every week and a half or something. I'm gonna try not to go this long without putting out videos, because, you know, I think right now we're in a situation where maybe there's only 5 to 10% of people are actually still human. But you know what? Those are still people maybe that I can get, that I can maybe, you know, I can get, and I can just kind of talk to them about the truth and help them see the way. I mean, if there's any humans out here, I may as well, you know, try my best to at least save some, right? I'm sure, you know, that is a lot of cool points, you know, saving a soul from Satan, or perhaps just making a soul closer to Christ than it was before, you know. So, as long as I'm still here on this earth, I'm going to try a little harder to you know, to keep making videos, to maybe just, you know, see a human, reach out to a human. I mean, there's still humans out here on these streets. I see them. I know the difference. And, you know, I'm gonna have to start reaching out to them a little more. I saw this old black lady at a Waffle House, and I tried reaching out to her a little bit, but you know, I think I may have scared her off. You know, I came at her on some shit where it was like, you know, I was asking her if she thought that, did she know that the Hebrews were black or whatever, and it was in a parking lot, and so she may have thought I was on some cult stuff or whatever. I mean, she was kind of nice about it, but, you know, I could tell she wasn't just gonna have a discussion about that in a parking lot, right? And like, we were in the Waffle House and we were eating, you know, side by side, so I hope I wasn't like, you know, wasn't like staring at her or creeping her out. But, you know, I was looking at her because she was like, you know, in her late 60s or early 70s or whatever, and she actually seemed like a real human, which is interesting because a lot of old people, there are very few old people who are actual humans. Most old people are cloned out, and that's true for every age group, but it's really, really true for old people. There was even a movie made somewhat recently. There are a lot of scary movies out there in the last couple of years because, you know, everyone's a monster now, basically. But you know, there was a movie put out where it was like, you know, these young kids were all like kind of nervous and scared to go to like their grandparents' house, and their parents were like, oh, don't be, it's, you know, da 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 da, and like, it's not that bad, and blah 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 blah, right? But nah, man, those young kids were right, because maybe it is true. Maybe young kids can kind of see certain aspects of the spiritual realm a little bit more than adults can see, possibly. And so these young kids were actually right. These grandparents of them, they were not human, and they were just on some non-human, you know, spook kind of crap, right? And you know, it's really like that. It's really like that. A lot of these old people, they aren't human, man. And so when you find an old person who's actually human, it's just kind of, I mean, for me, it's just kind of like, wow, like, you must have been really something for God to have let you kept your soul over all these decades, right? And so, you know, I saw her and I'm thinking of that, and I'm like, I want to try. But I just came at her, you know, with the, well, did you know the real Hebrews were black stuff? And I think maybe that scared her off. And so now I'm just kind of thinking, you know, that was kind of like my first opportunity to really kind of test myself as far as, you know, personal, on the street kind of reaching out to people thing. And so really, I think the way to do it from now on isn't even really like on some, you know, on some blah, blah, blah. You know, the Hebrews were black, right? I think it's really just going to be about, you know, what are your thoughts on God? And what are your thoughts on the Bible and Christ? And then from there, work your way deeper and deeper, as far deep as they'll let you go. But, you know, I'm not gonna really try starting off on some, you know, did you know that you're the chosen people, or, you know, the Hebrews were black, or da-da-da-da, I mean, this and that. I'm not really gonna start doing that right off the bat, because that might just scare a lot of people away. So I'm gonna just come at it from just making sure that we're on a similar wavelength with God and with Christ, because I think that's probably the way that you really ought to do it. That's probably the way that you really ought to do it. And it doesn't scare people off, and you get to see how far you can go with people. Lights off. Okay. But yeah, I'm reloaded. And the other thing, all you YouTubers out there, you know, I just don't have the time to go after every clone YouTuber out there. I really don't, because there's so many of them. But all I can say is the ones who tell people the most lies, I'ma really be going after you. And the ones who don't really tell people the most lies, or at the very least the lies aren't as bad, I'ma just kind of leave you alone. But yeah, I'ma start going after some of these YouTubers a lot more. The ones who are just telling people nonsense, and the ones who are clones and you're doing that. I mean, your time is up. I'ma get you. Your time is up. And if you're maybe a clone or whatever, but you're not really, you know, spouting that BS, I might leave you alone purely because there are bigger fish to fry, and I may as well just knock out some of the more venomous snakes instead of, you know, knocking people who, you know, maybe clones, but they're not really telling people bad things, or things that they don't need to hear, or things like that. So I'm gonna probably just leave them alone and really focus on the ones that are really going after our people pretty harsh. So it's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. And also, if you are a clone or whatever, and if you're a non-human tear or whatever, and you watch my videos, I mean, feel free. Feel free to watch my videos. I hope you do. Feel free to subscribe. I hope you do. But I'ma try not to be as easily gotten. I'ma try not to be so easily gotten like I was before. I mean, you know, this guy, the guy who was telling me these false prophecies in the parking lot, this guy, he even started going off on something that raised red alarms to me, but I didn't really call him out on it. He was saying some crap like some of the 144 would be, you know, of all nations or all types of people, which again is raising a red flag, because it's like, no, they're all Hebrews, dude. But, you know, he was saying some stuff about, you know, some of them were gay or something like that. And I'm like, nah, man, nah. God doesn't intend for humans to be, you know, lesbian, gay, tranny, LGBTQ, you know, bisexual, queer, you know, none of that. I mean, some people say maybe the angels of heaven were made, two sexes in one. And I could see that being true. I really could. Maybe that is true. But humans weren't made that way. Humans were made strictly male and female. Strictly male and female. They weren't made two sexes in one body. The only time that happens is when men and women join, right? But, you know, yeah, basically what I'm saying is, you can leave your comments, but I'ma try not to be as easily gotten as I used to be, right? Like, you know, you come up here talking some stuff about gay people being a part of the 144, I'ma call you out on it, because most gay people, like, you know, 95, 97% of gay people, 98% probably, they ain't even human. They terrorists. They ain't even human. So, you know, you talking about them being part of the 144? No way, man. Give me a break. I can't believe I didn't call the guy out on that. But, you know, you get what you ask for. You get what you ask for. And maybe I was so desperate to feel like there was going to be some angel or something coming up to me, giving me a pat on the head, being like, oh, good job, you know, and here's your, you know, I'm going to talk to you because you're doing, you know, this and that, and you figured out this and that. You know, man, you pray for things like that, Satan can intercept those prayers, and he can send his own people, and they can dress themselves up and make them seem like they're this and that, but really they're gonna maybe tell you a bit of truth and a lot of lies. So I mean, if you come in like that, man, I'm gonna listen to what you have to say, some of it, and then a lot of it I'm gonna throw it out. And if you come in like on some not all tears or non-humans or clone stuff, you know what? To me, that's a step back. Like, in 2014, 2015, I might have been open to hearing that not all tears are clones or things like that, and some of them are this, and some of them are that, and some of them are, you know, some of them are X-Men or whatever. But now, basically, you know, I think as far as that goes, Yahweh Rules is pretty much the guy who was on the most correct tip, which was to say that basically all tears are clones, and they're all androgynous or transsexual, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, there's another guy, he calls himself a lot of names. First went by Demon Master, then he calls himself God's Vampire and Vampirial, or whatever. You know, he's on a lot of a lot of, you know, good shit too. And, you know, I think he's got a lot of it right. But between those two guys, you know, basically all tears are clones. And Yahweh Rules really brought the receipts, man. He didn't just say it, he proved it. Yahweh Rules was basically like, hey, look, I'm saying all tears are transsexual clones, and I'm providing the, you know, hours and hours and hours of video evidence. And that's what he did. He provided hours of video evidence, like saying, look, they're transsexual, they change over time, so you know they're clones, so they're transsexual clones. And if you can show me a tear that's not a transsexual clone, I might be open to it. But until then, until you can bring the receipts like Yahweh Rules, I ain't really hearing it. Alright? I'm not going to be as easily duped by non-humans, hopefully. In the future, Lord willing, I'm not going to be as easily duped as I was in the past. So, unless you come Yahweh Rules style, and you've got hours and hours, or at least minutes, of good, solid evidence proving your case, I ain't trying to hear it. Okay? I ain't trying to hear it. So, you know, I am interested in deciphering the culture of, you know, the fallen angels and the demons who run and rule this earth. I'm very interested. I'm going to be doing another video about the pathology of the fallen angels. And basically that's just going to be the first part of it. It's really just going to be first part of it. It's really just going to be how racist a lot of them are. And first part of it's really just going to be how racist a lot of them are towards black people. And I might get into how racist a lot of fallen angels may be in general. In as far as, you know, maybe throwing barbs back and forth. You know, you have a fallen angel pretending to be black and a fallen angel pretending to be white, and they're being racist towards each other in order to get real humans to feel a certain type of way, right? Because you got a lot of that going on, and that's basically the real Hegelian dialectic, or whatever they want to call it. And you know, you got a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And so my first video after this is probably going to be about that. You know, really, I was, you know, it's like, crap, it's like 2 something o'clock right now. It's like almost close to 2:40 in the morning. And, you know, I was actually trying to go to sleep tonight, but I couldn't go to sleep. I kept waking up. I kept feeling like there was something that, you know, I needed to do. And I knew I needed to go grocery shopping, and that was maybe a thing. But also, I've been slacking on the videos, so maybe that's the thing too. I just felt like, man, I'm trying to go to sleep, but I just can't. So maybe that was a sign that I need to get up and I need to do something. So, this is my idea of doing something. You know, going to get groceries, and then also, you know, making a couple videos while I'm at it, because I've been really slacking. So, yeah, that's kind of how it is. You know, if you're a tear, or you're not human, I really appreciate you leaving comments. I really, look forward to some inputs. And maybe, I mean, it's practically the end of the world. So, I mean, what have you really got to hide? So I'm kind of looking forward to some inputs. Kind of looking forward to you maybe providing some insight into the culture and the hierarchy of the demons and the fallen who make up the tares. But don't try to chip me off on, well, not all tares are clones, or not all, not all tares are clones, or not all this or that, or, try to get into some extreme Middle Earth stuff because, at this point, I'm 26, and I'm not saying I'm getting set in my ways, because I'll try to never get set in my ways, but it's gonna take quite a lot to knock me off that Yahweh rules stuff. Because if I go from the Yahweh rules point of view that all tares are clones to this view that tares are not clones, they're just X-Men type things or whatever, it's a real step backwards. That's what people were saying back in 2012, but I don't think the evidence that we're looking at now, I don't think that holds up. I think what holds up is that all tares are androgynous, transsexual, quote-unquote, clones, and inside of these avatars, they have fallen angels or demons put inside of them. And as far as, how that ranks, I don't really know. It would be interesting to know. The different levels and ranks of fallen angels, the different levels and ranks of demons. I hear that there's like generations of demons, maybe up to 7 or whatever. And, some of the early ones, like the first and second generation, maybe to the third, maybe, are like kind of smarter or have more powers. And then, from the third or the fourth down, they get kind of watered down, maybe kind of stupid. I don't know. I don't know how true that is, but it's what I've heard. I hear there are archdemons where, the dad wasn't just some regular fallen angel, but rather like a prince of the fall of, like an angelic prince or a high-ranking angel. Maybe an archangel or a seraph or seraphim or, the various sort of angel princes that they have. And I guess maybe an archdemon might be, have more powers or might be smarter than a regular demon or something like that. And there's probably different levels of fallen angel too. It would be, how they all interrelate would be a very interesting study. One that as a human, I don't know. And yeah, I am, I don't quite have the purest bloodline because, I'm Rh negative. So there's that. And I know Rh negative does come from the fallen. And one theory I've heard about that is that, some of the fallen can be incarnated as human, and basically that's like their way out, their second chance or whatever. And it's basically like Pinocchio, where, he struggles and he wishes to become a real boy, right? So maybe that explains the Rh negative thing. Maybe, I think it's probably the best explanation that I've heard. So I know, I don't have the purest bloodline, but after, 6,000 years or whatnot of Satan tampering with humanity, I mean, you're going to have a hard time finding any human with a totally pure bloodline. So, I know when I walk out on these streets, I'm hated everywhere. Everyone, hates me. 95% of these things are clones. And these clones, I look at them and they look at me back, and I know what they are, and they know that I know what they are, and I know that they know that I know what they are, and it's just, every now and then, every rare occasion, I might get a clone looking at me like, good job for figuring it out. But most times, they either look embarrassed to look at me, and sometimes they just look at me with just pure hate. Just pure hate. Or just this disdain, right? They just, if I wasn't human, I wouldn't be hated on these streets constantly. There's something called true force loneliness, or MGTOW, and basically if you're a human, especially if you're a human man, you're going to be forced into that. Now if you're a human woman, some of these tears and these fallen angels and whatever, they might want to fuck you. So, there's that. But, I mean, if you're a human male, you're gonna be hated on these streets, boy. So I'm hated on these streets. So because of that, I know that I'm human. And also, I'm not a tranny. I don't blink too much. I don't not blink at all. So there's that. Masculine hands, ring finger, trigger finger, masculine hands, right? Masculine facial features, got a brow ridge, I got a sloping forehead, broad face, broad face, masculine chin, masculine little jawline right here. I got some weird kind of ears, but, we're gonna let that slide, right? A broad nose. I'm not a tranny. I don't blink too much. So I'm pretty sure I'm not a clone. So, and I'm hated everywhere. Everywhere. And it's not just... Man, I've been hated constantly since the 6th grade or the 7th grade. Since middle school. I've just been freaking hated constantly. And it ain't because, if I was listen to my probably clone parents, it would be, especially my probably clone dad, it would be some shit oh, it's you, or, you're antisocial, or you're this, or you're that. Man, that might be true to an extent, but to a much greater extent, it ain't even that. It's just, I'm a human in a world filled with non-humans, and they hate me, and that's just how it is, man. And, I'm a little weird for a human, so even if everyone was human, I'd still be a little weird, but it wouldn't be this true force loneliness, just this no friends, everyone hating you in the streets, in the stores, in the mall, everywhere you go, people just looking at you. It wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be that at all, if everyone was just human. So, I know I'm human, and I know I pray to my God every night, Pray to Christ every night, because that's the only way that I will get through this, is by praying to Christ every night. You know, basically for him to remove all the sin from me and protect my soul. Don't let me get cloned in the middle of the night. And that's not even a joke, because that's what happens to a lot of people. It's what happened to a lot of people. But yeah, you know, I'm back. I'm reloaded, ready to make some more videos. Hopefully they will be good. And yeah, see ya. Peace and blessings.